San Bernardino, evacuate the state of California, survive San Andreas. Tsunami finna get ready to come. No, Yahweh. Don't let your people go out like that. Evacuate the state, save your children. If you gotta use me as a vessel, do it. Yahweh, Yahusha, California, evacuate the state of California. Survive San Andreas. A tsunami coming.
California, still reeling from devastating hurricane, now faces an even greater threat. A massive earthquake predicted by multiple prophetic voices is poised to strike the West Coast. Hello, my viewers, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then hit the subscribe and notification button so that you don't have to miss on any of my videos. Now, in this video, Brandon, a prophetic voice, shares a dire warning. The Lord showed me an earthquake hitting the West Coast. Now, Celestral, also known for her accurate prophecies, echoes this warning. God says this will be called the Great North American Earthquake, one of the greatest earthquakes America has ever had. What is happening? What is going on? A lot of natural disasters are happening. Not once, not twice. They are hitting these places more than once. Now, these prophetic messages sound an alarm, urging preparation and prayer. But will people in California and elsewhere heed the warning? Let's take a look at the videos. I will be right back.
Sudden, I felt a violent volcano go off in that area. A violent volcano. And I saw Portland, Oregon. And I saw the Space Needle in Seattle completely destroyed. I saw the area between Portland, Oregon and the ocean going this way. It split off from a massive earthquake. A massive earthquake. The largest earthquake we've ever felt in this area before. Ever. In this, it was a humongous earthquake. And the land from Portland, Oregon to the ocean broke off into the water. Okay? And and you could see the ground of this, I believe it's the San Andreas Fault. It lifted up the land up higher, and this land was lowered down to sea level, all from it was all the way to San Francisco, but San Francisco was not as affected as Portland, Oregon, and Seattle. The Space Needle thing that was in the air was gone. It was completely decimated. It was laying on the ground. All the major highline, the big structures were completely destroyed. It was something that looked like out of a movie, but it was tragic, a very tragic event. I saw the water come inland on this land. It did not bury the land, but it was probably 5 feet deep, 3 feet deep. I don't know, deep on you could still see the green grass. You could still see the trees sticking out of the water as far as you went inland. The further you went out, the deeper the water was. But the water came in as it was like it was sea level. I don't know how else to describe this to you. I'm doing the best I can. But it went for hundreds of miles. All the land was completely submerged that broke off in an ocean. When the land moved and shifted, it caused a humongous tidal wave that hit Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska. The earthquake hit Alaska too, okay? And British Columbia. I saw all this land completely destroyed by this massive earthquake, okay? And the land was shifted up. It was elevated where it had broken off, okay? And the water was all coming inland. It was I know it's so far out there, but I'm trying to tell you all what I saw. And so all of Anchorage, Alaska was on fire, like Hawaii. And I saw fire all on where Alaska is, all that area where all this land is right here. All the trees, everything was on fire. Now, I don't know why everything was on fire, but I'm talking massive fire had breaking out over all this area. And I could see all from British Columbia all the way up, complete devastation. But at this time, when the land did all this, it caused a massive disturbance in the Pacific Ocean, and it caused a massive tsunami wave to hit Japan. And Japan was completely destroyed by like all inland from this like Tokyo, like all that area. That wave came inland and just it was a massive wall of water came into Tokyo, Hawaii, all these areas. Okay, it was a massive amount of water coming into it from the force of this land falling into the water.
The earth and the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon was remembered before God to give her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. Revelation 16 and verses 18 and 19. And so what Yah was saying to me as all these Bible verses were coming to my heart is he was telling me that, you see, earthquakes are singular occurrences. They're very, it's impossible to ignore an earthquake, even a very small one, even a 3.1 or 4.2, that kind of thing is not to be ignored, because the earth moving is naturally out of place for us who find our placement and our movement and our safety and our security in the ground that is beneath our feet. So when the ground that is beneath our feet begins to misbehave, begins to act out of character, begins to roll and rock and do everything else, it's automatically scary for us, because right there in our faces, it's attacking, it's shifting, and it's moving our placement. And every single human being on earth, even a little one who is learning how to walk, has an innate desire to be sure of placement. Every single one of us wants to know, in the family, who am I? Am I a daughter? Am I a son? Am I the first son? Am I the fourth daughter? That kind of thing. Placement is very important to us, because we are creatures created by God to function at our best in identity. And so we identify as land. We are terrestrial. And so we are here on earth, of the earth. And so when the earth begins to move and the earth begins to misbehave, it is an anomaly. It is a different thing. It is an other. It doesn't belong. And so it's naturally scary for us. And God was just showing me in the Bible and just told me, Celestial, these earthquakes, they mark times and seasons almost as much as the stars in the heavens do. So earthquakes are not just, oh, there was an earthquake, we have it all the time. Even in earthquake prone areas like the Ring of Fire and things like that. It's not a situation where you just say, oh, it was an earthquake, we had it all the time. Or like they do in California, they constantly say, yeah, well, they've been talking about the big one for years, but nothing ever happens, and that kind of thing. These are, I won't even call them precursors to the time, because we are already in the time that the Bible talks about in Matthew 24. We are already in that thing. We are already, if we're not already past beginning of sorrows, we are definitely cruising in through the gates that are marked in bold letters. Welcome to the end times. So nobody should be flippant, no matter where you hear of an earthquake. You hear about an earthquake in Sri Lanka, you hear about an earthquake in Paraguay, no matter where you hear about an earthquake taking place, even in unorthodox places like in Africa, where they're starting to experience tremors. And I already warned them and told them, God says that you're sitting on a solid plate in Africa. So you should be extremely woke, and your eyes should be open and shining everywhere to understand that times of God's displeasure have already found you if you are in an African nation that you absolutely knows do not historically suffer from earthquakes. And then you begin to have earthquakes. You should already know that the displeasure of God has begun to enter in pointedly into a nation like that. Earthquakes are timepieces. God says he's going to be using earthquakes as timepieces. And he was just giving me examples of these earthquakes in scripture to show that, for instance, in Luke and in Matthew, mention of earthquakes is a natural marker for the times. That means that if those who across history have suffered great earthquakes, this is going to be called the Great North American Earthquake. And God says it's going to be one of the greatest earthquakes that America, if not the greatest earthquake that America has ever had. So now I'm going to be reading the prophecy, and I'm going to read the prophecy, and I'm going to bring out what God has said as always, and then I will go over it briefly, and because there's still more Oh, yes. Before I read the prophecy, I did say that I was going to share not only what God said this morning, but this morning I had a brief dream. I'm just going to add it here because it's too brief to make its own prophecy. I had a very brief dream. I don't even think this dream was longer than 2 minutes long. And what I saw that we had come back to a time where we were back in face masks, and this time it was extremely stringent regulations. It was so stringent that, in fact, I didn't see people successfully being able to put up a fight. I don't know what exactly had happened, but then I have said that we will have a worse than the Rona coming here in the future. But whatever it is, we were back in face masks, and Americans were so angry that the predominant face mask that people were wearing was the United States flag. I saw a lot of people in the US flag because that was the only form of protest that people were allowed. They were wearing the face masks of the flag, and above the face mask, you can't really see. So when the face is covered like this, all you can really see is the eyes. I saw so many people with disapproving, scowling, angry looks. They were so upset. People were so upset. But for some reason, there was not much talking. There was not a lot of vocality. There was none of the stuff that Americans do now because it is tolerated. I've always told you that the government is merely tolerating us. The United States government, please hear me, cannot do what it really wants to do, because part of the reason of advertising yourself a certain way for so long, part of the reason that it's very effective is because if you have the kind of media machine, if you have the kind of PR, if you have the kind of brainstorming and marketing that America has employed to make people all over the world believe that this is heaven on earth, then it's very hard for you to go from 0 to 100 and suddenly restyle yourself as a kind of Kim Jong-un type of dynastical, tyrannical mind control kind of spot. It will cause too much of a flare up here in America and internationally. And so the United States government can never and will never restyle itself suddenly as a regime, which God says it is. This is a tyrannical regime. It's just dressed up in fashionable clothing, and it has great marketing and PR. And so the people in the nation.
Now, based on models taking into account the long-term rate of sleep on the San Andreas fault and the amount of offset that occurred on the fault in 1906, the best guess is that 1906 type earthquakes occur at intervals of about 200 years. Now, because of the time needed to accumulate sleep equal to a 20 feet offset, there is only a small chance, about 2%, that such an earthquake could occur in the next 30 years, according to the report of the Working Group on California Earthquake Probabilities. Now, the real threat to the San Francisco Bay region over the next 30 years comes not from a 1906 type earthquake, but from smaller magnitude, about 7 earthquakes occurring on the Hayward Fault, the peninsula segment of the San Andreas Fault, or the Rogers Creek Fault. Now, probabilities of one or more major earthquakes on faults in the San Francisco Bay region during the coming 30 years. The threat of earthquakes extends across the entire San Francisco Bay region, and a major quake is likely before 2032. Knowing this will help people make informed decisions as they continue to prepare for future quakes. Now, long-term regional probability estimates from the 1999 Working Group on California Earthquake Probabilities. The Great 1906 San Francisco earthquake is the most powerful in Northern California's recorded history, and new studies of this earthquake are yielding important clues about how and when such events occur. Now, with this improved knowledge, people can better prepare for the future strong tremblers. Now, California, known for its landscapes and vibrant cities, has been facing an imminent danger looming for centuries: a massive earthquake. The San Andreas Fault, which runs alongside Los Angeles, is considered long overdue for a significant seismic event. Now, despite efforts to improve earthquake prediction, the threat remains unpredictable, leaving millions of Californians vulnerable to the devastating impact of the big one. Now, scientists have long warned about the inevitability of a major earthquake in Southern California. In the July 2024 article, California is 150 years overdue for a massive earthquake. in the Atlantic Ross Anderson State. In 1989, an earthquake hit the Bay Area, immersing the state in seismic catastrophe imagery. A freeway overpass snapped. San Francisco's Victorians toppled. A fire broke out in the marina and the World Series was halted. The big one is supposed to be worse, he says. Now, the article mentions that the San Andreas Fault, formed 30 million years ago, lies beneath Southern California. There has not been a major quake in over 3 centuries, though it typically occurs every 150 to 200 years. Now, Greg Berroza, a Stanford professor and co-director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, says we are overdue. Scientists aim to predict quakes days or weeks in advance, but success is uncertain. Now, researchers are tirelessly refining earthquake forecasting techniques to warn of impending disaster. However, the success of these efforts remains to be determined and improving forecasts remains challenging. Anderson reminds us California's extensive network of over 1,000 seismic sensors is crucial in monitoring seismic activity. Now, these sensors, strategically placed across the state, detect the initial fast-moving P waves that precede the more destructive S waves. Real-time data analysis and algorithms sift through the noise to identify these seismic signals, triggering automated process that send push alerts to mobile phones, hot transportation systems, and shut down gas valves. Now, while these early warning systems give people a few precious seconds to react, the challenge is improving earthquake prediction accuracy and timeliness. Now, California is still nursing wounds from the devastating hurricane, and now it faces an even more daunting threat, a massive earthquake. The Golden State's resilience is being tested, but this isn't just a local issue. It is a global warning. We've witnessed an unprecedented surge in natural disasters. Hurricanes ravaging coastlines, wildfires scorching landscapes, earthquakes shaking foundations, and floods. Now, the frequency and intensity of these events should sound an alarm. Are we listening? Now, this isn't just about California. It's about the health of our planet. Climate change, environmental degradation, and human activities have disrupted the delicate balance of nature. Let's not forget about the prophetic warnings from Brandon and Celestral, which serve as a reminder that we're not just facing natural disasters, but a spiritual reckoning. God is telling us something. And it is time to confront the truth. Our actions have consequences. Climate change is real. Nature's balance is fragile, and human life is precious. Now, as the threat of a catastrophic earthquake looms over California, a chorus of voices is sounding the alarm. Evacuate now. Now, among them is a brother in the first video, which plays just as this video starts, who has dedicated his channel to warning of impending disasters. Now, he has been urging Californians to leave, and his message is clear. The danger is real and time is running out. He's not alone. Multiple experts, prophets, and whistleblowers have joined the chorus, warning of unprecedented disaster that will shake the West Coast to its core. Now, their warnings are not to be taken lightly. With the hurricane's devastation still fresh, Californians must prioritize safety above all. But this is another conversation. Where are people going to go? We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do my viewers have to say? Share your thoughts, your views, your contributions in the comment section, and let's have a conversation there. Thank you for watching, and see you in my next video as I bring you another video.